up, everybody? It's your boy Dylan XL. Thank you for keeping it locked with the 716 Live. That was just a live performance, Body Rock, by Joe Goretti. And I have the man himself in the building. What's going on, Joe?
Not much. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for coming through.
Thanks for having me.
Man, it is. Let us know where you was for that live Body Rock performance.
I was playing drums with Moby. We were at Arras Festival, I believe, in France, in front of 40,000 of our closest French friends. It was a blast, yeah.
Oh, man, it looks like it was.
It was a great time, yeah.
All right, so let the people know just exactly what you do. So we know that you play drums, obviously. But how did you get started?
Well, my dad was a drummer. My mom was a singer. I had an uncle that was a drummer. There was always drums in my house, so it was kind of like I just picked it up. I was a little kid that was like about 4 years old, and my dad had his drum set, and he had a little drum set next to him, and I used to sit on a case of beer and play, and I just kind of absorbed it and picked it up, you know, how kids are, and so I was just around it all the time. And then I got to be, I just took it for granted. It was like, drums were easy for me. Right. And then when I got to be about 12, I got in the junior high band and started playing a little drums and taking drum lessons. And I just fell in love with it. You know, that was when I was finding my identity as a teenager, and so I just loved drums and started studying it from a local guy at a place called Ucrest Music, which isn't there anymore, but it was in Cheektowaga. And then after a couple of years there, I went and studied with a guy named Louis Marino, who was a local legend. Louis taught all kinds of drummers out of Buffalo, and Louis just passed this past year. It was real sad. The whole community was broken up, but Louis leaves quite a legacy. And so I studied with Louis for 10 years in a little place right on Forest, and was there in the back room studying with him. We did all kinds of stuff, and then I wanted to take it to the next level, and so I wound up going to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and that's it. I just decided that was what I wanted to do. I threw my whole life into it, and wanted to just be a pro drummer.
Right, and now you're, touring and being in France.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned, the viewers didn't know, but a little bit behind the scenes info, you also mentioned that you performed at Saturday Night Live.
I did. I played on Saturday Night Live with an artist named Robin. Katy Perry was the host. It was... I can't think of the year, but it was a few years ago. We played the two songs. We did that. I played on Leno with her, the MTV Music Awards, and then I played with Neo, the R&B guy. That was the first big break. We did David Letterman.
Okay.
Played on the David Letterman show. So yeah, I was fortunate enough to do a whole bunch of different, the big TV shows with a bunch of different artists.
Right, yeah. And you racked up a good resume too.
Yeah, it was.
I would wear that on a T-shirt or something.
I have the T-shirt.
Saturday Night Live.
I have the T-shirt. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing though. So, do it ever shock you at all? Just like starting out, sitting on that keg of beer, like you said, and then performing at Saturday Night Live and for Neo and these different places. Is it like a shock factor when you go in to play the drums at all?
Well, by that time, I had been so submerged into it that it was just my life, and so I wasn't nervous when I did it. You know what I mean? It was kind of like a day at the office, even though it's something you always want to do, and it's a big thing. You know, your heart is beating, and you're like, I'm so glad I'm here. Right. But I wouldn't say it was shocked. It was I felt very fortunate, and now's my time, and I'm going to rock it.
Exactly.
You know, and that's how it felt. Yeah.
Exactly. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Wow. So any run-ins with anybody that you looked up to, like not even just only with playing the drums, but just musically, and you actually ran into them, and it was just like a big thing for you, like it was a highlight moment?
Yeah, I've had a lot of those moments. As for drummers, there's a guy named Dave Weckl, who's a legendary drummer, and Dave Weckl I met. When I was a kid, I used to have his little VHS tapes, on like how to learn how to play drums. And Dave is still going strong. He's a legend. He changed the face of drumming, and he came out to hear us play. He was friends with a good friend of mine, Chrissy Poland, and he came to hear us play. And he was really into what I was doing and everything. We went out for drinks afterwards, and then a few years later, when I got the gig with Moby, I needed a drum company endorsement, and Dave Weckl actually got me my endorsement. He called up Yamaha Drums and said,
"Wow, that's crazy!
Hook this guy up with some drums." Yeah, so that was one of many, and then just some great people that I got to play with. I played with some classic people like the Temptations and Sam Moore of Sam and Dave. And when I got to play "I'm a Soul Man," with the Soul Man, and it was, I mean, that's somebody. My dad was. It was somebody my dad thought was awesome, and here I am, his kids playing drums with him.
Exactly.
So
wow.
yeah.
Wow, so I mean, to actually have a dream and then achieve it and like see him actually work out in fruition, that got to be like a big deal for you. And what would you say if you like just looking back on what you did so far? Because I'm sure you're not done yet. But what would you say was the most humbling experience that you had thus far?
Humbling. Well, I'm just thankful. I mean, it took a lot of work. It took a lot of perseverance. You get a lot of rejection. Anybody would tell you. You have a lot of heartbreak. I mean, when we did that Neo gig, it was like as soon as we got it, was like you're on top of the world. You're traveling around and you're doing these things, and then shortly after that, you kind of lose the gig because something happens or whatever. Or there's different industry stuff, and then you're back down to earth and playing weddings again and doing whatever you have to do to pay the bills. So that's kind of the nature of the business. So you have to be really thick-skinned. You have to like find a way to just persevere and set your mind to what I'm going to do this, and you're going to meet all kinds of disappointments. It's this up and down sort of life.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so yeah, that's been what's been driving me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm sure like a lot of our viewers that we have and a lot of guests that we have coming up here who hasn't had the opportunities that you've had, but they've always like to hear a lot of stuff like what you're doing now, like dropping jewels and just stuff of what's to come, like in the future and everything. And one thing that I noticed in particular with everybody is they say consistency is key. And I like that you just mentioned that it is, like even when you're down, like you said, when you didn't have the Neo deal anymore, and it was like, okay, so what now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you didn't stay discouraged after that.
Right.
So that's very important.
Yeah.
So what's to come in the future for you, though? I know you got something in the works.
Well, yeah, right now I decided I'm going to focus on doing a solo project. So I got, when I was out with Robin and Moby, there are a lot electronic artists. So I really got into the whole electronic production thing, and that was sort of a new thing for me as somebody who studied jazz and all that stuff,
right.
and the old school, traditional instruments. So I really got turned on by this whole new electronic music thing and
right.
producing electronic music. And so I'm putting out an EP that's going to be out next month. I'm looking at probably the second week of April, the 13th. And it's all me. I play everything. I have a gigantic drum set that's half electronic, half acoustic, and I've just been really experimenting with new sounds and
right.
stuff like that. So that's what's going to happen. I have the single is out now. That's available on Spotify and iTunes and fine music stores everywhere.
Right.
But that's basically what I'm looking at now. So I've just been locked in my practice room over there and on Main Street, and every day just working on new stuff and new sounds, and I'm really excited about this. I don't think anybody's heard anything quite like it. It's the thing with electronic dance music is a lot of it is really kind of rigid with the categories,
right.
Like if it's deep house or if it's dubstep, it has to kind of be really regimented with what it is. And so I wanted to do something that's totally different, and I don't care if DJs play it or not,
right.
I just wanted to do something that sounds totally different. So this thing is all based around the drums, drum rhythms, and all this stuff, and how I could make them interact with the electronics and design all the sounds myself and all that stuff. So that's what I'm pretty psyched about. And then once the EP comes out, I'm going to do an actual show that's just a one-man show with me and my giant drum set that I call the Intergalactic Beat Station. And that's what we're going to do. We're just going to do some shows, and I'm going to play my own stuff, going to come out and be the solo guy instead of the sideman.
All right. Wow. Wow. So that's very interesting. I think this is a little sidebar too for our magazine editors. I think we got our next month's cover story here.
You heard him.
Yeah. So I mean, wow, that's very interesting. A lot of the stuff that you said, I can only imagine how exciting it would be to just even have some of the opportunities that you've had. So like that's really amazing. Really amazing. When I was younger, I played the drum set. Now you got me second guessing. Like maybe I should have kept going with the drums.
It's never too late. You can start. And oddly enough, I have a book and an online drum course that I put together on how to have a career as a professional drummer that tells you all that stuff about being a freelancer, because it is different than just studying an instrument, or a specific, like the actual business side of it and what you need to know and what's important and what you really shed on. But it's never too late.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
My phone number is available. I'm happy to take you on as a student.
All right, got you. I'm on for the challenge.
Okay, perfect.
Wow, Joe. So, I mean, again, thank you so much for coming through, sharing some of your experience with us, definitely dropping some jewels as well. And let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Well, I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, all Joe Goretti. My Facebook fan page is Joe Goretti Drums. I also have a website, www.joegoretti.com. And for the drummers out there that are interested in the course, it's drummingcareercourse.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. This is Joe Goretti, and we are signing out. Make sure y'all keep it locked, though. We got an interesting music video coming up by Drea Deneur. This is a tribute to Nina Simone.